He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of fair Gotham, and welcome to Bat Minute Forever, the show that just keeps on making you all smarter and smarter 1 minute at a time, damn it. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And I'm the co-host, Niall McGowan.
Why was that amazing? Can you do that every episode? Or at least once a week? Come on.
It was only relevant to this 1 minute. Although I'm hoping people
get beautiful.
that it was... I was going to go into a whole thing there, but I'll save it for the mid episode. Actually,
Save it. So. And yes, once again, we are joined by our very special guests, everybody's favorite groundhogs. We have Dave Pallas and Sean German.
Hey, we're back. We're back getting brain drain here, man. I'm just watching Jim Carrey do what he's paid for to do. Just doing that dance. I'm just like watching the dance, and do it, run it back.
Well, love it or hate it, they're getting exactly what they wanted in the 90s.
I wanted to say, too, like, fair play to Jim Carrey, because he is, like, on the written page, this scene, and I know from reading the novelization, like, this does seem like a very difficult scene to imagine when it's written down. Like, so what's he going to be doing, and how's this going to go? So a lot of this is kind of like Jim Carrey is selling the scene. Like, he is like, all right, I'm going to have to do a load of wacky comedy, crazy stuff, but I'll get this exposition out and then try to make it, like, at least entertaining for it to not seem like the stupidest thing that anyone's ever seen.
I want to read this. I did not realize there was a novelization of this film, which of course there would be. I guess like this was in the days when every film, but I just
I want to know, since one of the things I want to talk about Batman Forever, though it's not in our minute, is how did he write Val Kilmer's portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne? Because I feel like this Bruce Wayne is definitely different from Michael Keaton's. It feels like, whereas Michael Keaton's Batman is famous for getting nuts. Yeah. Whereas this doesn't feel like this Bruce Wayne would ever raise his voice, but like he has this like steely cold like anger that's just like it's like a furnace that burns ice or something.
Yeah, it's quite scary, I think, actually.
And he doesn't raise his voice. It's almost sociopathic. It's in how he portrays him. I am Batman. I choose to be Batman. It's just like very like, oh, I'm unnerved. I'm very unnerved how you say that.
Yeah, it really creeps me out.
Yeah, I think this has aged very well. I don't, I could see at the time coming off of Keaton, not thinking much of this, but now that we've got the Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale Batman, and kind of looking back, like this is, I kind of get the feeling like Kilmer's kind of in that Christian Bale vein, but I think he does it better.
Oh, okay. I think he does the same kind of thing as Batman, but I like Bale's Bruce because this Bruce is written like Christian Bale's. Yeah. Like he's clearly meant to be this playboy. Everybody loves him. His face is all over town. But he doesn't...
He's on the cover of Miss Gotham magazine.
Yes, and Gotham Beat. Yes. But he doesn't seem to portray that. But as Bruce, I totally get that. Yeah. No, sorry. I just messed it up. The opposite. As Batman.
This Batman is almost like a sociopath, where it's just like he's very cold and he'll punch you and be like, I'm angry you did this.
Yeah.
Why did you do this crime? And you're just like, God, like, you're getting punched by this man who's just talking calmly and coldly. It's not like, where's Harvey Dent? It's just like, he's just like, I need you to take me to see Harvey.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Harvey into to Arkham.
I do actually kind of like wonder if like, cause I always try to think of this as like, oh, this is a continuation of the first two movies. So if you were to take it that way, that like, yeah, he's kind of cold. He's a cold guy. He's kind of, emotionless, like almost like dead inside, basically. Could it be that like, yeah, all the anger of Batman was kind of taken out when he killed the guy who killed his parents. Basically, he got vengeance on Jack Napier, and they kind of allude to that later when he's talking, like when Robin's talking about killing. He's like, oh, well, taking one life's not going to be enough. You're just, the anger's going to still be there. It'll be you'll go out every night just hoping it's going to go away and all that kind of stuff. But and then you have that. So the anger is sort of slightly abated because like, well, I got that guy, but I'm still not happy. He had Selena Kyle, and then she ditched him. She completely rejected him at the end of the day, even though they were both in love. And so now he is at a point where he is like I had one love of my life. Sorry, Vicky, but I had one love of my life, which was Selena Kyle, and she's completely gone, and like all I have now is being Batman. Like I got my vengeance, but I still don't feel happy, and I'm he is like a husk of a person now. He's just like, yeah, I'll just go out every night, and I just feel this compulsion to do it, and I don't know if I can anymore. Like, and these, then you get all the him been torn with Chase Meridian of like, well, could I give up in Batman? And they'll get to it eventually in the movie and stuff, but like.
The answer is no.
It's almost like Dexter. Where
yes.
It's just this. He's holding it all together and but Dexter gets those releases when he's like stabs the guy, gets the guy tied down tarp. He's got his ritual, and then he stabs him, and he's like, I feel good for a bit. I can get to I get to just breathe. Whereas like Batman, we don't ever really see him. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to have to watch later. I'm going to have to watch the clips with him and Nicole Kidman and see what those scenes are like again. Because, yes, I haven't seen them in a while. I want to see if, like, as an adult, if he's really, talking through his, trying to talk through his, psychosis.
Well, but that's the struggle, and that's part of what makes Batman such an interesting character, is he is, kind of like inside, there's a very rich and emotional life going on inside that he feels he can never let out. He can never show it. So he's always got to be very stoic and even on the outside. But the struggle, the internal struggle is going on.
I've just realised I haven't introduced the episode.
This is minute 23.
Minute 23. The
23.
minute starts with, I don't know, a flock of seagulls or something. And it ends with Stickley being perfectly fine for no reason whatsoever.
We got it. We got it.
Just like Stickley takes off that helmet and he's just suddenly got a flock of seagulls haircut. It's just like, they just threw that in somewhere.
That would be beautiful. Because with that phrase there, I am alluding, of course, to a line that Nigma comes out with at the start of the minute, which I genuinely loved. Yes. I loved it.
Yeah.
Where he says, a swarm, a flock of freaking Freuds. Which I thought sounded like one of our outros.
That's what I was watching it and like, all right, Jim, we can tell you want to write an outro. Just
right, we know.
Send Jim Carrey's been tweeting us for years now, trying to get on the outros.
Just upload it with one of your political cartoons, and we'll consider it.
Yeah, but isn't that the collective noun for a group of psychiatrists?
A flock of freaking
a flock of freaking Freuds.
It's hard to say.
It is.
Oh, I mean, Freud's a problematic character when you actually look into him. I don't know if we need more than one. He's not got the best views on certain things, let me say.
No, yeah. Well, they can analyze each other.
No. Yeah, they'd drive each other to madness with overanalyzing.
Ooh.
We could throw in Dr. Chase Meridian in the middle of that.
Oh.
See the chicken coop go crazy.
In the chase.
Yeah. Well, like say for one thing, like on they did have a very drastic sort of change with the box from the Baxter draft to the Goldsman draft, because originally the box was conceived as like an educational device. It didn't have this whole TV element to it. In that first draft, they talk about like it'll have all this information on it. You'll be able to instantly learn things. It's like the Matrix. Like, whoa, now I know kung fu, like that kind of thing. And there was actually at the beginning of this sequence, there's in that original Baxter draft, there's a bit where Edward Nigma accidentally uploads an entire thing of like puzzles that are he was uploading to the box while he was testing it on himself, and now that's why he's all obsessed with puzzles. They have a very beautifully actually sort of talk about the sequence where like you see all these weird visuals around him, and then there's like loads of question marks and stuff start appearing in front of him. And I was like, oh, that could have been pretty good. But then in this, I think they were trying to go for some level of satire where they're like, yeah, but instead of it being educational, now it's all about like just zonking out an escapism in television. And like even in in Joel Schumacher's commentary, he's saying like, there may be a little metaphor in here about people being zombified by television and stuff like that. So like I think they were definitely trying to like, oh yeah, we're making a point of like, as we have all these scenes of people mindlessly sitting watching this device that's sucking their intelligence away from them and stuff. But again, it's like, oh, maybe the point is just like, yeah, people are getting dumber watching television, I guess, and one person at the top is profiting from it. So unless like Edward Nygma is supposed to be like Rupert Murdoch or something.
In the background of this whole scene, I love the amazing theremin going on. I would love a theremin. It's ooky and spooky, and I've always thought it looks really fun to play. But apparently, it's insanely difficult to actually operate it properly without just being an idiot waving your hands over the damn thing. Going, woo!
I know that I think the best piece of music in the film is coming up like quite a bit from now, but like it's very theremin heavy as well. It's like I'm looking forward to that minute in particular just to talk about how awesome the music is. But
I want theremin to be used more. There's all these horror punk bands and stuff like that. Why did they never use theremin?
I remember Zombina and the Skeletons did use a theremin for
but obviously because Zombina and the Skeletons are like the greatest horror punk band ever.
No, let's get the plug in there. One of them co-wrote the theme tune, so plug. But
yeah, exactly. And we're not biased. I was a fan of them first, then I befriended them.
You did an Edward Nygma on them.
I nigma'd them so damn hard.
I remember you standing outside that concert going, I am a winner. And you brought your weird wall covered with Zombina and the Skeletons magazine cutouts with you and stuff.
How did you know all this, Niall?
I was there. I saw it all. Reached up with his dead hand and signed it in his own blood.
I thought the only time we've really chatted outside of a gig is when I vomited after Gogol Bordello.
Yeah. Wasn't much talking going on then, though. It was just mostly you throwing up. But...
And let me just tell the listeners, that wasn't alcohol related. It was basically dehydration related from the insane gig.
Sure. Was Niall holding your hair back as you vomited?
I believe I did have hair at the time. Sadly, long since departed.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, hair.
Anyway.
Yes, back to the minute again.
I zoned out. I was watching clips of how people play theremin. I'm like, yeah, this is weird. It's just the waving hands around. But the one woman was playing scales, and she's just moving her hands as if she's like doing sign language, and then she's like slightly pulling them back like an inch, and that's like an entire key. And I'm like,
it's like performance art.
That's what's crazy about it.
I have a little. I got to give. My wife got me a little, like a mini theremin, like a tabletop, and it was like a kit. So it was like activity. I got to put it together.
Amazing.
And it is very difficult to play. It's easy to make it sound bad. It's hard to make it sound good.
Because when I first heard it, I didn't know it was a theremin at first. I thought it was like an organ, like they're doing something. They're just like screwing around on like a Casio organ.
Oh, like an effect on it and stuff. Yeah.
That's what I first thought. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people do actually do that. They don't use a real theremin. I think because it can be expensive, it's difficult again. And
apparently
they're lazy,
apparently they're very easy to make, though. Like, I remember having a lecture at university, and he was just talking about theremins at one point. He's like, you can actually make a theremin yourself for about 25 quid. Like, it just require a few of these little, like a couple of the, the appropriate electronics inside it and stuff. But he's like, you can buy that at any hardware shop, and then you can create the field around it quite easily. It's just like a high school level science experiment to create the.
So I fully expect one for Christmas then, Niall. I better get
I'm gonna say you have to tell me how it works, but is it like static electricity? Like it's kind of playing with that?
I think so. Yeah, it's basically just emitting some sort of electric field that you're manipulating. With your hands,
between the two sort of prongs. I don't know what they're called. I think that generates the field, and you interrupt it with your body. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't really get how that translates.
But anyway, back to the minute again.
Yeah, Nygma goes back into more detail here about what's actually happening via song this time. He's like, I'm sucking up your IQ, vacuuming your cortex, feeding off your brain. Like, what is happening? Why is he singing? What is this song?
I do. Yeah. I like the idea too that like Elliot Goldenthal was off working on the main score, and he was like, "Oh, I've nearly completed my work for Batman Forever." And then Jim Carrey improv this bit, and then Joel Schumacher had to come to him and was like, "Could you write like just something on a keyboard for this?" and he was just literally like, you mean like, perfect? There you go. Just record that. Done.
Perfect. Why is it so good though? I adore the music. It's amazing.
When he does it, there's like a little Hannibal Lecter type thing where he's like he's like slurping up his, the other guy's brain. He's, the IQ is.
That's a reference, right? It has to be. It's like the fava beans and Chianti and whatnot. That's a reference.
I see it as like, it's like he's getting the last of it. But then again, Fred wakes up and he outside of like having like a little like, huh, what's going? Like he's a little dazed for a moment. He seems fine, and nor does he like, you'd think he'd mention the fish or something. Like it's like he doesn't remember watching the television.
Yeah, like it never happened. Like it's kind of drugged him, but with absolutely zero side effects. Like, why isn't he brain damaged, as we said?
Yeah, but why isn't he more like... Because he goes straight back into being like, Enigma. Why isn't he a bit more like, really, really... You should be indicating that this thing can give you brain damage or something. Like, something to make it more threatening. Because it's kind of cartoonishly threatening, but it's not really like... Again, I really feel like instead of him being thrown out the window, it should end with Fred Stickley been left brain dead. Because he's just like, I've sucked up everything out of your head. Yeah, and then he like the rest of the movie is like, okay, so that's can't do that to everybody, but I'll do it like Superman 3, Office Space style, where like I'm stealing like a point of a person's IQ every time. They're slightly getting dumber with each use of the box, but it's so gradual that you can't tell that it's happening and stuff. Yeah, and then over time, I'm accumulating millions and millions of IQ points or whatever, but like no one can tell. But it just seems to be like, it doesn't really seem to affect people in any negative fashion. Like he gets your secrets, and that's it. Like there's no major downside to what the actual people. It's almost as if like, well, after Edward Nygma's been taken care of, we can keep the box going. Like people are enjoying the 3D of it all, so.
And give it to everyone, right? Everyone can become smarter with no negative effects.
But one thing though, I feel like we zoomed past there. I feel we can't not bring it up. Is that the Edward Nygma says the Riddler's famous line in for the first time in this. Well, he says it one other time in the rest of the movie, I think. But he of course then goes like, oh, riddle me this, Fred, and so of course that's the line forever now affiliated with the Riddler. And I've looked into the etymology of where riddle me this as a phrase actually came from. But so the phrase riddle me this appears as early as 1615 to present a small brain teaser. One notable early use comes from 1693 from English author John Dryden's translation of an ancient Roman satire, in which someone says, riddle me this and guess him if you can. Who bears a nation in a single man? And apparently the answer is the Greeks, and I don't get that. That's just like, well, okay. But it was just constantly used around throughout the years, and then apparently in 1924, the American Folklore Society recorded that riddle me this, riddle me that, guess me this riddle, and perhaps not, was used in Jamaica as a formulaic chant before riddles. And then, of course, then the Broadway musical and stuff had the name and whatnot of Riddle Me This. But through doing that research, and I know
which Broadway musical?
A Broadway musical
Riddle Me This?
Called Riddle Me This, yeah.
Oh, I had not heard of that. Okay.
No, I've not heard of that. What the hell?
Well, it's from 1933, so it might be like long out of production now. But of course, though, this also led me to find, we kind of alluded to it in the last minute, but something that just like it's become my favorite thing in the universe now, where Frank Gorshin of playing the Riddler, in Batman, 66, released a single, an actual musical single as the Riddler.
Oh my God! Is this like along the lines of bloody Leonard Nimoy doing all those awful but brilliant songs that I love and play in the car all the time?
This thing is just it's amazing because it's. For one thing too, I'll post it up in the Listeners Society, obviously, but there's particularly like a performance of him on the Dean Martin show, where he does it live. And I think it is entirely live because the backing singers are awful. Like, they're really, like, ear-piercingly awful. But, the phrase "riddle me this" is peppered throughout the whole song and stuff. But it's just amazing, because, like, the fair play to Frank Gorshin as well. It's like, he gets into the role so much. Because he's just talking to Dean Martin. Just like, blah, 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 blah. And then he's just like, oh, I've got a few riddles for you. You might not have heard. And he's like, oh, by all means, Frank, go ahead. And that's my Dean Martin impression, by the way.
Yes. I thought Dean was with us for a moment here.
But, like, instantaneously, in the blink of an eye, he goes into, like, riddle me this. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. And he starts doing all the Riddler kind of his whole mannerisms is all instantly change into, like, oh, that's the Riddler from the 60s TV show. He's just back in the role instantaneously. And it's just like, a bunch of backing singing women doing like a kind of simple choreographed routine with them all wearing question marks. And the song, like, the lyrics are horrendous. Like, it's one of those annoying things, because, like, one of the riddles he poses is which one is simpler to spell, Tweedledee or Tweedledum? And then the backing singer's like, which one is easier to spell, Tweedledee or Dum? And it's like, well, Tweedledee, because it has more E's. And it's like, And a lot of the things he said, like, it's all, one of them is properly awful, where it's like, what?
They're all awful.
Yeah. Everyone.
Oh, they are all.
Like, one of them is like, what did the chick say to the other chick when the hen laid an orange instead of an egg? And then they're like, what did the chick say to the other? And then, like, he says, well, the chick said, look at that orange marmalade. And even the backing singers are like, oh, God. What? And it's amazing. Yeah. And he's so into it. He's, like, properly doing, like, the cackling laugh and stuff in between everything.
I think what Niall is trying to tell us is that really save the song, though, because how dumb the lyrics are. It's like, every time he does it, we just, like, we cut to him dancing next to Joaquin dancing.
Oh, this sounds beautiful.
Oh my God, someone has to make a meme of that. Frank Gorshin dancing in those steps now. Or just the edit of the Joker, take out the Gary Glitter song, put in Frank Gorshin's The Riddler. But it's just amazing, because it's just like, but one thing that really struck me about it, and it's a thing that's kind of quite consistent with a lot of the Riddler stuff, is that Cesar Romero must have saw this and was pissed, because he's like, well, those aren't riddles. Those are jokes. Like, what do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. That's a joke. That's not a riddle. Like, there's no brain teasing about it. It's just more of like, when you get the answer, like, oh, of course, yeah. But it's just a bad joke. It's not a riddle, goddammit. And
so it should be the Joker instead of the Riddler.
Yeah, he should have been like, maybe he like, oh, that was the thing. Also, the amazing thing I find out about this song, that it was written by Mel Torme. Like, the guy who wrote Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, like all that, the Velvet Fog. Yeah. And he wrote this song for Frank Gorshin. And I was like, oh, it's amazing. And then plus, John, tying into things relevant in other minutes, Mel Torme also used to be one of the spokespersons for Mountain Dew. And we've been talking about Mountain Dew the whole damn show this season.
I'm going to be drinking a Mountain Dew every episode now.
Can I read a riddle?
By all means. Okay.
This is a riddle that came on work. Somebody mentioned it at work, and I was sitting there, thinking about it. I'm doing this. I'm calling FedEx and what have you, and the whole time I'm like, I guess they must either have the answer or a friend had the answer, and they kept asking the friend later. Because, all right, here's the riddle. And so, like, if you want it, I'll tell the answer in a minute. So, like, pause after I give the riddle and think about it. There is a body without a heart that has a tongue and yet no head. Buried it was before it was made, and loud it speaks and yet is dead. So, okay, so pause it now, the listener, if you want to kind of, like, look it up or riddle it or listen to it again. So here's the real answer to that. Is I don't know if I should give the answer of what it was or what I thought it was. But I guess the point is I overthought it, because the answer is a bell. So, body without a heart that has a tongue and yet no head. What? Okay, tongue is what the actual ringer thing is in a bell. It's one of those things you have to look up in a thesaurus to find out.
Oh, it's actually called that.
Buried it was before it was made. Well, that's essentially referring to like the copper ore.
Oh, the ore is because it's metal.
Okay, and yet loud it speaks and yet is dead. Here's the problem. What I thought was a better answer, and I still stand by this, is the Latin language. Okay, I'm not saying this works 100%, but like I feel like it's more interesting as a Latin language than just a bell. Okay, so body without a heart that has a tongue and yet no head. I just see it's like the body of work of like the Latin language and what it's done. With like without a heart, I feel it's just like the what it's brought forth from the Latin language. You have a lot of other languages where it comes with it has a tongue and yet no head, stuff like that. Maybe the head could mean like, you know, it doesn't it's sort of a dead language, like no one really speaks Latin anymore. Buried it was before it was made. At most, I could kind of slant this could be like the Rosetta Stone, something to that extent. Loud it speaks and yet is dead. That's another thing I'm trying to get at, where it's just like it's still around, like you hear it through other languages that have taken off of Latin. So that's where like my head went. I was like, oh, it's Latin language. Like, no, it's a bell. And I was like, I don't like that. I overthought it. I wanted something really like, whoa, yeah, make it think. It's like, oh, it's a bell. I'm like, buried it was before it was made. I'm like, are you just talking about like the ore of metal in the ground? I'm like,
I think that's the thing though. What a riddle is supposed to do. I think every riddle's answer should provoke the response of, oh. Like, because when you're saying about Latin language, like, oh, that's quite clever. You could go like, oh, yes, yeah, it's very interesting. But the fact that it is something as simple as a bell makes you go like, oh, god damn it! Like, you know, I should have got that. Like, I think that's what riddles are supposed to do. Like, it's supposed to be something they're presenting something that's very complicated, and then when they tell you the answer, you're just like, god damn it, that was so simple.
Yeah, when they tell you the answer, you want to punch them in the goddamn face.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have like it. But it should be because it's so obvious after the fact. Like if someone tells you the answer to the riddle and you're still like, huh? Like the bell thing where you got to explain, well, the thing inside the bell, technically that's called the tongue. Then it's like, that's a bad riddle.
Yeah, that's just
by definition. If you have to explain it, it's a bad riddle.
Yeah, like a joke. If you got to explain it, then you failed.
Yeah. Yes. That'd be something though, like Batman was inherently terrible at riddles. Just like at the end of this movie, Bruce Wayne just never shows up to Claw Island to take on the Riddler because he's like, I didn't solve any of those riddles he sent. Like, I don't know, like take one off and scratch my head. What the hell does that mean? Is it a hat? Like, what's going on? Or just he comes up with like a completely different name. Like he comes kicking down like friggin', I don't know, like Summer Gleason's at the door or something. There's a random like side guy, like Harvey Bullock's just getting harassed by Batman. It's like, I know you're the Riddler, Bullock. Like, leave me the hell alone. That's why Harvey Bullock hates Batman so much. He's like, he won't leave me alone. Freaking constantly breaking my windows. It's like, I know it's you, Harvey.
Oh God. Anyway. I noticed in the draft that maybe the filmmakers were on the same track as we were, right? Because this is there, and we've said it makes sense, right? In the bit you read the last episode, Niall, where he's going into his urban speak and whatnot, towards the start of all that section, he actually says. He does a scientist voice and says, patient exhibits symptoms of psychoneural overload. Notation, obviously higher settings can be dangerous to the subject.
Yeah.
So I think that was there all along, that idea that it will like disable people. But you know what it'll be? It'll be trying to steer away from the dark stuff from the last movie.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, we can't have the villains like leave people brain dead. That's too dark. It is pretty horrible. What would he be doing there? Sitting in the chair drooling.
But they're villains.
That's like whoa.
Yeah.
So they must have gone, nah, don't do that.
That actually reminds me though, at the end of mentioned it briefly last episode, the animated series episode that could have partially inspired the whole Enigma virtual reality thing, and the general MacGuffin of this, because in that episode, I remember when I was a kid, that episode kind of slightly scarred me because the ending of it's so like, what the hell? Where again he's created a virtuality world and he's sucked Commissioner Gordon into it. So Gordon was sitting with Robin with the helmet on. Robin got up to go away, and then the Riddler did something, and like Gordon's now trapped in the virtual reality. And to take off the helmet will leave him permanently brain damaged. So like, no, we have to go in and literally rescue him within virtual reality and stuff. And at the end of it, they're like, oh, the Riddler seemed to get away. And Batman's like, no, I think I know where he is. And he goes there, and he finds Edward Nygma still in the virtual reality. And he takes off the helmet, and he's like, oh yeah, he's overloaded. He's trapped in there. And it's like it's the Riddler sitting kind of essentially brain dead, just kind of twitching and stuff. Ooh. And they're just saying like, well, whether we'll be able to get him out of that virtual reality is a riddle we may never solve. And it's like,
oh, that's a good line.
Yeah, I remember, that's the end line of the episode. But I remember as a kid, but like, that's really messed up that they just like let the Riddler's just like trapped in virtual reality for like forever, I guess.
See, that is dark as hell. And kids
dark,
like dark stuff.
But it's his fault. Like, it's like the Riddler brought it on himself, and so it's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
And do you remember that Static Shock episode about virtual reality?
I remember bits and bobs of Static Shock, but I didn't watch it regularly enough to kick it all in.
I liked it. It was one of those things where I was like, it's just another superhero show in the Warner Brothers thing. There's an episode. It's hard to find, but like I remember something about Static Shock. He had a friend who like he was very down and out. Like I think he was kind of like poor. I think or he had like a bad home life and stuff. And I think and there was some virtual reality program or something, and he got addicted to it because his virtual reality was essentially his life, but it was just better. Like that's it. He wasn't a superhero. I think Static Shock was like his best friend or anything, but it was just like he had a good life. Like that was his virtual reality. He wasn't doing anything fantastical. He just essentially improved in his virtual reality his standing in life, where he was happy to go home and happy to go to school and wasn't depressed. And then he would like get addicted to it, and they were doing like a drug addiction type of PSA through that episode.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, that's a Saturday morning cartoon, same as the Batman animated series, teaching us kids some, like, like, watch yourself and watch your brain. Like, if your brain goes bad, it's going to mess you up. And yet, these movies are just like, there's no consequences to it. Like, and I mean, and then we want to talk about consequences too. Like at the end of this movie, right? When he breaks the whole box, explodes it. Nygma's essentially, Nygma on his end, he looks like, he's just been through the ringer. He looks like gaunt and just like his he looks like a husk of a human. Everyone else at home, are they addicted? Are they like, hey, put the box back on? I need the box. Like, is it like there's an entire city of people like who need a fix now, who like can't find that fix because the box doesn't work anymore? Like I turned on TV and I was watching the Gotham Crusader sports, and I don't know, man, it wasn't in 3D, and I didn't care anymore. Like I need the real I need the 3D. I need the box.
That's a good point. If it works like a drug, like a heroin kind of thing, these people are going to be affected by just taking it away.
And also like the fact at the end Batman throws a batarang at that thing. What if people are currently plugged into the box? Does it damage them? It's like Batman coming out. It's like, you like brain damage like about 500 people just by throwing it at that exact minute.
Batman, you've got to check the science. You didn't read those blueprints.
It's just like
you're blind as a bat. You're right, I'm Batman.
To get into like what the hell is going on? That's a long time away, but that finale is just like we ran out of ideas. We ran out.
What's your idea, Batman? I'm going to throw a batarang and mess your thing up. Oh no!
But
I just want to say one other.
I was just going to say, Dave, about that Static Shock episode. This really reminded me of that episode of The Office where Dwight's talking about Second Life, and he's like, in Second Life, I am also the assistant to the regional manager of a paper company. And he's just like exactly Dwight's life. And then it's like, except I can fly. And it's just like Dwight flying around.
Well, he's already the perfect person.
Yeah.
Except for flight.
Yeah. Tragically, someday, once he gets a horse boat on the market, maybe he'll bombs off a rocket or something.
Well, I just wanted to say one other thing as well. I've got one other note. It's not really a note specifically about this minute. It's just about the box in general again. Surprise, surprise. That's all we've talked about, the general stuff.
Yeah,
but I feel a little conflicted and funny when a movie or a TV show tries to make media consumption a negative. You know, it's like essentially what this is saying is, oh, TV will rot your brain, you know. But it's like, but I'm watching the TV right now to get that message from you. I don't know whether I like that or it's transgressive. I can't decide. Like, is it cool? Is it bad? Is it stupid? Is it clever?
Unless it's because this is a film. It's like, oh yeah, don't watch TV. TV sucks. Go to the movies. There's no box there. You're totally safe.
I suppose. Although, you know, these days, TV's the new film.
See, I never bought into that whole. People are like, oh, TV rots your brains and all this kind of thing. It's like there's a lot of intelligent stuff on TV. There's a lot of like documentaries and stuff. Like so many things, so many like phrases and like random bits of information I know from watching The Simpsons. Like things like I would never have known about otherwise, but they mention them in The Simpsons, and then eventually like down the line I'll realize what it is they're talking about. So I was like, well, that's in there. Like that's not like rotting your brain. That's like, well, it's culture is always a nourishment for the mind and that kind of thing. So it's TV does seem to be the most self-loathing of mediums. You never read a book talking about people are reading too many books. But the amount of TV shows and films are like, people shouldn't be watching TV. Like, as I'm telling you, as you're now watching this on TV.
But
people are listening to too many podcasts.
Well, that's true. I am.
I think my own bit is like, the only thing I've had TV is there's just sometimes some reality shows that don't work for me because I feel like it's like you're looking into someone's life, but you're not gaining any information because their life is so different from you. Sometimes where you're just like, well, I'm watching, maybe this famous person do some crazy stuff. I'm like, I like the only reality show I really like. I brought with Sean, he knows, is Bart Rescue because I feel like I learn a little bit about the science of how restaurants and bars work. Like what makes there's like those little things that you don't think about. And you go, yeah, like, and then when I notice a bar is doing something that like almost it says it's like, did you guys finally start watching Bart Rescue and figured out like a small cocktail menu is actually like really profitable for like a bar because it means you get to charge like people $12 for essentially like $3 worth of like well liquor.
Clever.
It's one of those small things. It's just like when you watch that show, I feel like there's little things actually you learn there. Whereas some where it's just like it's a show and people are arguing and stuff, and it feels and it's over edited. I go like I don't know if I'm really gaining anything from these type of shows. But and then what's the new popular thing everyone loves when they're watching their like Netflix or Hulu stuff? They love their like serial killer shows, and we're all loving like the true crime things. Like you hear so many things where people's like, have you watched the new true crime show where he did a horrible thing and then they never found out, and then they found out the entire like board of education knew about it, and the kid did this, and you're like, oh my god, and you're like what is this, some HBO drama? Oh no, this is a real thing that happened in like 1975. Like they're just doing a documentary about it now. It's like, oh god.
I mean, even things like keeping with like DC stuff is like just the other week they have they've got the new Watchmen shows out, and the first scene of that first episode is about the Tulsa race riots. And up until when I was watching that, I was like, well, is this the real thing? And then looking at it, it's like, oh, Tulsa race riots are an actual thing that happens. Like, I wouldn't have known about that had Watchmen not told me about it. So it's like, well, there you go. You're getting something out. Oh, to be fair, that's HBO, so I guess it's like that's a little bit classier than most of your TV. But is it just me? Like, we can wrap up this episode, but I will say that like I feel this scene, the energy weirdly shifts towards the end here, where it's like it's so high octane, and then when he turns it off, it just feels like, yeah, we ran out of steam. Like we're just that's done. Like he turns off the machine now, and we're done. It's like it feels like this could have been handled more gracefully, because then Carrey tries to bring it back up again. Well, there's like what a rush. It's like he's trying to. I'm single-handedly trying to hold this goddamn scene together because poor Ed Begley Jr., great actor, can't do anything because he's just sitting looking at a guy who looks exactly like him on a fishing boat, and it's.
You're determined to get to the bottom of that, aren't you? That it is him.
I really want feedback from people in the listeners' cave. Did anyone else think that he was supposed to be the fisherman? Because now looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, it's totally the guy from Spider-Man. But it's like, why didn't they cast anybody who does like? Maybe because actually, when you do see them, both actors, they don't actually look alike. It's just more the fact that Stickley's got this head apparatus on. This guy had a hat. They both had mustaches, and because the guy's resolution wasn't that clear, it was like, oh, it must be Stickley in the boat. But
is that maybe is that maybe it's his father, and that's like a memory that Enigma had like pulled out and like make him relive, and that's why there's a resemblance, but it's not exactly.
I mean, things like that were something. Again, that's another potential thing of the box. Like I would really love if there was some element where like that's how Edward Nygma got Two-Face on his side, is because he let him relive his life as Harvey Dent, like the unscarred, happy life he had with Gilda Dent, elsewhere, via using the box. But like that's just not in there. It's just like Two-Face is crazy, loopy Joker guy, and the box steals secrets. Like it's just, we know all your secrets. Like that's
the last 15 seconds of this minute are really, there's no consequence here. We know Edward Nygma was going to get fired, and we know he was going to get in trouble when he knocked out the manager. We know the manager doesn't like him. and it's like, and then so it's like 15 seconds of neither of them have really been affected long term. I mean, like Edward Nygma says he's smart, but he still acts exactly the same. The manager now waking up is getting right back into his groove of being against Edward Nygma and going to fire him and report him.
Where was I? Nygma, you goddamn asshole.
So yeah, it is. It's definitely one of these where we're like, there's like, plot holes in the script that we're going like, just add these few things, and I think you got yourself a more intriguing movie, But it's a shame. It's like they went for the Happy Meal. I don't know. I guess Happy Meal ending. I don't know. It's the best way to put it.
Well, work on your material, and we'll head off into the dark night.
Oh, actually, one more thing I will add is just that in the original draft, it does specify that this is supposed to be incredibly painful for Fred Stickley. Like they have Nygma, or Lyle Heckendorf, as he is in that, uses the box on him, and apparently it's just like Stickley comes out with like a really like ear-piercing, horrified scream of like feeling his brain's been sucked out, and Heckendorf's just like, okay, causes pain for subject. That's a design flaw, and I'll fix that. But so even then, it probably was a studio note of like, well, they made this guy really suffer quite badly, so could we take that down? Maybe if the guy was just watching a happy fishing show, and then it'll be much nicer for everybody. And
that is the impression I get. Yeah,
they're just going for that version of like Batman and Robin and rocking chairs, just lemonade, please. And also we'll mention that beyond that Riddler song by Frank Gorshin, there's also it's an entire album called Batmania, about made by people from the '60s show. Adam West has a song on there called "The Story of Batman," which is just like absolute bullcrap, which is like some random rock and roll song. And then he's coming on talking about you can make your own bat mask by just holding the record up in front of your face and stuff.
What?
Yeah. And then there's also a song called "The Escape" by Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, which is like a light jazz number where he's just boasting about how great the Penguin is. And it has lines like, I'm a swinging bird, you rat finks. I'm the Penguin.
This sounds like the greatest song ever made.
This is one of those things that I feel like if we're always looking for Patreon content, I feel a review of the Batmania album may have to be a Patreon episode.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
By the time this episode...
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, but by the time this episode here airs, it could be this month's Patreon episode. We don't know, so...
Let's wait and see. Good. But yes, we should go. This is a long episode of nonsense. We will depart.
Holy crap, I didn't realize we were going that long.
That's why I keep trying to wrap it up.
What the hell just happened?
We're good. We're 5 minutes of Mr. Groundhog Minute, and Sean's going to tell you on Friday. Go.
Yes. There you go, everybody. Check them out. And come and speak to us on Facebook and whatnot. Blah, blah, blah. Buy a t-shirt. Give us some Patreon money. All useful. We might not spend it on drugs. I mean, I don't know. I can't guarantee that. But, it all helps out. The drugs help. It creates this wonderful content you've just listened to. And do come and listen to us again on Friday for more Bat Minute Forever.
Next time, what man through yonder window breaks? As he reels in recovery from a risky mind probe and unloads on a demented, bizarre, unethical toad, will the boss's determination of termination leave Nygma on his ass? Or is our friend Fred about to go through the looking glass? Find out Friday. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da.